And let there be sound. Hello, everybody. My name is Kirby, Kwan Jr., and you are currently tuning into the Ghetto Fabulous Podcast. Joining me once again is my standard co-host of choice, the man from Trinidad, your boy, Skinny Jean Shane. How you doing today?
Hey, how's it going? Doing pretty good.
I'm doing all right. Strangely enough, I woke up somehow before afternoon today, or in the morning as we call it. I usually never wake up in the morning somehow, especially in quarantine right now. How is that treating you currently?
It's kind of rough, cause I really do enjoy just kind of like being outside and hanging out with friends. But
What
I mean, I guess
friends?
you. But the shift over now to like more online stuff, like, you know, for let's say just hanging out with like video games or Discord or whatever. I mean, I'm surviving.
So we don't have like any studio spaces or anything like that. Well, kind of. I have something in the works. I can't share it with you guys yet because I don't know if it will work or not yet. So therefore, I can't share it. But we don't technically have a studio space or anything. So we're literally just recording these separately in our own bedrooms as we've always done. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about something that you might have noticed that we've been working on, and this is going to be called the RU Cosplay Experiment. So for those who didn't know, Shane and I, as well as like a few other friends, we run like a cosplay operation under a school's library. We're not allowed to mention the school, are we?
I would say for now, no.
Okay,
Just keep
cool,
it safe.
cool. But yeah, it's called RU Cosplay, so you could you could get
I mean, this would push them to go look at the Instagram and the YouTube, right?
yes, please. So so basically this is a channel and operation that's like I guess dedicated to introduce newbies into the craft as well as teach them the basics of cosplaying as we work on our own projects as well, I guess. We do have like a Facebook page for it, as well as an Instagram and a YouTube, and I will link all of that in the description below on video on YouTube, as well as I'll list it in the audio description on whatever platform that this may be at. Which reminds me, please do follow this podcast on all audio platforms that it is available on. We're talking about the big three, such as Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, as well as Google Cast and Breaker, and so much more. Everything will be linked below. But yeah, let's talk more about RU Cosplay before it was called RU Cosplay. So this is before I was involved or anything, because basically I was taken on sort of as a photo photographer, because, you know, photo photographer, that's totally not redundant, repetitive. The repetitive redundancy that seems to repeat itself. But yeah, eventually I realized, you know, like there's probably a little bit more that I can do both as a cosplayer and as a media guy, I guess, as a photographer. So that's when the experiment started. But prior to that, Shane, let's talk more about that, because this is actually something, this is like your child that you gave birth to through your imagination. I didn't know where I was going with that. Right. Thankfully, I said imagination.
Sure, I'm with you. Yeah.
So talk to me more about that in regards to how you again gave birth to this to your child.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of it kind of came down to I was already working for my school's my university's
your school's universities academic
schools universities. Most redundant. Hey. I was already working for the anime club on the university, and I was also working on a project at the time that, like, it was video recording. It was basically like a video essay that I was trying to put together, and because of that, I didn't have any like hardware for that sort of thing, so that's where my lab kind of came in. I was basically in there like every day, sort of like, you know, working away on my video project. And not only that, but like, you know, I was making friends with the staff, and I was sort of like telling them a lot about like, you know, oh yeah, no, like I'm part of the anime club. And, you know, I also do like some cosplay as well. I worked on like, you know, this or that, and I showed them a few pictures. And it just sort of stuck like that. What?
Just to clarify, when Shane says his lab, it's not like his own private lab. It's more like a public lab space for the students of that particular university school.
It's basically okay. It's just it's an extension of the library services. But anyways, so within that lab, I basically just kept up with contact with some of the staff members. Kept hanging out with them, and eventually the director of the space. He was getting very interested as well in terms of expanding some of the lab services, and that's when he decided, like, hey, like, it would be actually amazing to bring in some cosplay, because they do a lot when it comes to, like, technical skills, such as, like, programming, or, like, wiring, or, how should I say, basically just, like, hard electronics, right? But they don't really have too much in the way of crafts or, like, building or construction. So that's why they sort of saw the benefit when it came to cosplay. Not only that, but it helped that I was already sort of, like, mixed in with the culture when it came to, like, anime club. And we also had another staff member there. We'll just name her Annie for now. And she was already, like, very big into cosplay as well, and very experienced. It also helped that she was a fashion student, so she was able to sort of, like, give expertise when it came to that. And from there, it kind of just went. Like, we had our debut. It was, like, the biggest day when we basically brought in all the sewing machines, the heat guns, the Warbler, all the EVA foam, everything was there. And from there, we picked up, like, a number of people. But as all things are when they first start, it was not popular. There was, after that beginning day, it slowly tapered down to maybe about 3 or 4, like, people for, like, a few weeks. And then after that, Annie had to leave because she had some co-op, I can't remember where exactly. And then it was just me for the while. And because of that, all right, it was literally just me alone, like, running, like, workshops in the lab.
Yeesh.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a little depressing at times, and it did make me kind of question, like, the validity behind some of it stuff. But just kept trucking on, kept soldiering on with it.
And what year was this created, I guess?
This was created... Ooh, boy.
It would have... 17, 18?
2017, yeah, 2017. So it would be about 3 years now. Damn. And within that first year, I basically had almost no members, like, no people actually show up for the thing. It was just me running workshops solo with, like, every now and then a friend of mine, like, sticking around. But no, let's say, like, completely new people, right? And then when we hit around to the end of 2017, that's when we decided to rebrand, and we decided to sort of, like, change our ways when it came to, like, running workshops and, like, putting the word and marketing ourselves out there. Marketing ourselves. I was gonna say putting our word out there, but that didn't make any sense.
Oh, I heard you say worders, and I was like, what?
But yeah, that was basically, like, the beginnings, right? It wasn't popular. It actually took a long time before we could actually pick up anyone who was remotely interested in coming. And a lot of the old RU Anime executives were telling me that they wish that they had this during their time, because they were very much into cosplay. They were still very much new when it came to a lot of the stuff, and because of that, they flopped all around. But outside of that, once 2017 was, like, up, we decided to rebrand. We decided to reach out more to the anime scene. Basically, we almost became, like, a subsidiary group to that anime club. But the thing about it was that we didn't want to be tied down by, let's say, sort of the politics behind that group.
We didn't want to be repressed.
Pretty much, yeah. We didn't want to be tied down by, like, their rules or regulations. So basically we decided, like, we'll keep ourselves separate, but we will still have, like, a very strong, like, contact within that anime club. But after that, we kind of just kept working on it. We kept going. We decided, like, okay, reaching out to one club just isn't enough, so we reached out to multiple. And we created ourselves, like, a small executive team that was made up of all the presidents of those groups. So we had the president of a fandom club. We had the president of the anime club. The president of who else? Who else?
They're gonna get offended when they watch this now or listen to this now.
Maybe. I mean, like, in all honesty, they haven't like reached out or like spoken to us in a while.
Oh,
Perfectly fair. No, to me, it's like it's perfectly fine because like they graduated a long time ago. So
yeah,
I mean,
you didn't
what
let
reason
me
do you have to
finish.
connect
I was going to say, okay,
Nice catch.
thank you.
But outside of that, yeah, that's basically how we started and how we slowly got to where we are now. Because once that president stage was over, where we had that whole group of executives, I would say that's when we really started getting popular. That's when more students were getting more interested because the presidents were pushing our sort of club to them.
Our operation.
Our operation, yeah. And then from there, we kind of expanded a little bit more. We decided to hold like much more consistent workshops, one that had like, specific themes behind them. And that's when you sort of came along as well. But I kind of remember as well your beginning when we were just doing this. You actually kind of stopped doing cosplay, didn't you?
Yeah. We do very briefly talk about this in a previous podcast. I believe it was called Part-Time Cosplayers. But basically, at that time, I think it was 2016. I felt like, I know that like I could sharpen my skills, but I was just like, yo, I'm done with cosplay. Like there's nothing else I need to prove to myself necessarily or prove to anybody. Like, and I just felt like I don't feel like making any more like costumes for myself. It takes time. It costs money. And I don't profit from this. If somebody else like commissioned me, that's a different story. I'll help them out if I can, but like it just wasn't like worth the time or effort. And at that time, I was starting university. Mind you, I'm a dropout at a certain school. But yeah, that was me in terms of cosplaying. And then when I met Shane, like obviously I still had a resume and a history in cosplaying, so I knew from the beginning, like, yo, I could help you guys out with certain things if you need it. But rather than doing that, I was just mostly like a photographer and videographer for them, which I didn't mind because like I had 2 days, I had like the Tuesdays off sort of at the time. Mm-hmm. But like, and this is like at around 2018 was when I like first came consistently to see how this operation kind of ran and stuff. And I've kind of noticed like there were certain things that could have been improved and whatnot, but I didn't ever want to like overstep my bounds. So what I would do instead would like, aside from taking photos, I would take mental notes of like, oh, I'm noticing this is redundant, or like, oh, this could probably be a superior technique or easier technique or whatever. And then I would like pitch these ideas to Shane and the rest of the operations members, which I don't know, I said members because at the time it was just Shane and somebody else.
Pretty much, yeah.
Am I allowed to name them or no?
Give them
Martha?
usernames. Yeah.
Martha, right.
Martha.
Jeez. But yeah, so then I've taken note of this for the whole 2018-2019 fall winter term. And then when it came time for my initial idea was to launch this RU cosplay experiment for the fall winter of 2019 should they approve of it. Of course, that didn't happen because Shane was conducting a study in Japan. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really able to get in contact with Martha much often because I started working a lot over the summer of 2019. You went
full-time then, right?
No, I was still part-time.
Okay.
But your boy was making bear guap when I'm playing, but yeah. So then I had to pitch the idea of this RU cosplay experiment at the pretty much the end of 2019 or the beginning of this year.
Right.
And we've noticed some pretty good changes. Do I hear sirens in the background, Shane?
Yeah, so I actually live near a police station. So I don't really know. A police station / fire station, so I don't really know which one that is, but it's there.
Well, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in less than ideal, I guess, conditions, we launched this RU cosplay experiment, which was meant to. Well, first things first. What was the operation called before we renamed it?
I mean,
because it went through 2 name changes, right?
Yeah. So the first time when I just started it off, it was just sort of called. I think it was just like the cosplay group or something like that.
Basic.
Yeah, forget just bland, right? After that, we decided to rebrand as something a bit more playful, Cos Squad. And then after that, we decided. Yeah, I know you have some gripes with this.
It just sounds funny to me.
Yeah,
and also you don't know how to spell
that,
it because you don't know if it's 1S or 2S.
Yeah,
I find that even the library kind of messed up on the signs because I'm like, wait, on this forum. Or, excuse me, on our forum, it's with 2 S's, but the library spells it with 1 S, and I'm like, I is confused.
And then after that, when you showed up and, like, you know, we talked about it a lot, had a few discussions as well, we finally decided, like, all right, we'll just call it, like, RU Cosplay.
It also made for a cool logo. That's why.
Exactly, yeah. And it was, I don't know, it just, like, basically streamlined the whole system, right? Yeah. So that was really great on your part. But the name was, like, always sort of, like, in contention. And not only that, but, like, a lot of descriptive features that we just didn't really know how to properly brand certain things. For the longest while, we didn't know if we should be referring to ourselves as a student group. We didn't know if we should be referring to ourselves as a club. So we kind of just decided, like, okay, here's what. We'll go with, all right, we are a student group, but we run out of the university's library. We don't run out of, like, the usual, like, the typical groups, which would be the student union, right?
Yeah.
And with that, all right, like, it comes with a lot of benefits, in my opinion. We weren't necessarily restrained. We didn't have, like, you know, all these sort of expectations on us that most of the student groups have. You know, it kind of just helped us out. Like, you know, once we decided, like, we're just going to stick to being, like, a student group, right? An independent student group that just runs out of our library.
Right. But basically, with this proposal that I had, it was to rebrand and remarket the whole operation, basically, because, you know, no disrespect to you and your previous team, at least from what I've seen from a small sample size, but it seemed like there was a degree of staleness at the time that, like, I was just taking photos. So, but I've noticed, like, through guest workshops and stuff, I realized what worked and what didn't work. So that's why I had this proposal to remarket the whole thing. So obviously the name switch was probably, like, the most minor thing, to be honest. I completely redesigned a new logo for this operation, a new banner for the operation, as well as develop a slight social media presence. Because prior to that, I believe, like, it was just running out of a Facebook group page.
Yep. And a Gmail that we never used.
To the point where I didn't know it exists. So there you go. So I decided to, like, okay, how about we do it like this? You know, we have weekly workshops that we host at the university anyways. Why don't, for those who are unable to make it sometimes, or to sort of use as promotion for, like, future years or whatever, why don't we start up a YouTube channel and just, like, post either highlights or workshop recaps onto the channel. And that was, like, the first thing I thought of. The second thing I thought of was, you know, like, we're doing a very visual thing, right? Like, we're cosplaying. You're literally playing dress up, basically. Why don't we use Instagram as a means of, like, showing the work, showing the progress or whatever? So, you know, those were the most important things that I wanted to strive to push on a marketing thing. But as far as a rebrand, I was like, I noticed that we did like a lot of, specifically fall winter 2018-19. I noticed that, like, we was doing a lot of, like, crafts, which is cool, but like it doesn't really drag a lot of people into the cosplay elements. So I brought up the idea of like doing more cosplay specific workshops. So patterning, foam templates, gluing, stuff like that. But my initial proposal was always to accommodate a full fall winter term rather than a half term, because that was all the experimenting time that we had. But then on top of that, that was prematurely cut short due to, COVID-19.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, too, some of that, there was also like some weird stuff going on with this, with a certain union group, Shane, with other student body groups. So they got kind of, I guess, messed up over, like, not messed up, excuse me. They got a little bit like caught off guard and kind of discombobulated, I guess. Understandably so. So, and then like we wanted to put together, like all of a sudden, I don't know if it's because of that or if it's because of the rebrand, we were trying to put together like this big student body group event thing too. And that kind of cut away from some of our energy and creativity a little bit.
Yeah, there was there is definitely something to be said, considering those collaborations that we. Here's the thing, right? I totally appreciate the groups reaching out to us and asking us to like collaborate with them and everything, but it was just sort of like almost out of the blue that even for us, like we were just a little confused in terms of how do we keep up with this as well as our regular workshops. How much do we actually contribute, like, when it comes to these kind of big events, etc. So for sure, all right, like there were definitely a few hiccups like here and there. Not only that, but we had like a few projects in mind when we started earlier in 2020 that there just wasn't any time for it, man.
Yeah.
So perfectly true when it came to like we had like all these ambitions or these ideas. Then student groups happened, then like new events, new people that we're working with, etc., etc. But I still think that this year was quite successful in terms of workshops, as well as like increasing our numbers, as well as like increasing the attendance like within the actual lab space. Because in all honesty, like with what we've accomplished when it came to actually like providing these people these skills, we had like a number of consistent members now. We actually had a group of completely newbies who are now like asking us for our expertise, or asking us like, hey, how would you like let's say mold this piece of foam, or like how exactly does the sewing machine work,
or like let's eat, huh?
Pretty much. Wings night. And in all honesty, like every workshop that we had, all right, I still think like it worked out pretty well. Our members were consistent. We accomplished the mission of let's just introduce people, all right, to cosplay, right? Completely bare bones basics, all right? Here's how you start. Give them the foundational material. And that's exactly what we did. And we had a number of people like, continuously show back up. People love making plushies.
I mean, true.
Yeah. And especially like when it came to the more technical side, all right, we still had people showing up for that, which is something I was worried about, because I know that once you start getting through like, the more, let's say, specific details, all right, it kind of dumbs down the experience.
Today we are going to teach you how to sculpt muscles without doing push-ups.
Pretty much. Like, I was worried that like once we got more technical with things, all right, it would dull the experience for some members. But they still showed back up the next day. So I still think that like, considering the situation right now and considering like, how things are running, it is very difficult for us to be running any workshops or anything like that right now.
You don't say.
Yeah. In fact, like we basically had to cancel all of it, right, for now. We do have some plans in the works, though, in terms of trying to bring ourselves into an online presence. Might be a bit difficult for people to follow along, but nonetheless, we will be trying our best to sort of like maintain the community that we had, right?
Right.
But yeah.
So obviously we talked about like things that we did well with this year's operation. What is the funniest or strangest moment that we've had in your opinion of this particular year so far, or I guess term, not really a full year because it's just winter of 2020.
Every Wings night.
Every Wings night, really? Okay.
Yeah, when it's just us and Samantha.
I personally prefer Samuel L. Jackson more. It's a friend of ours that we just that we don't really. No, I asked him. He said it doesn't mind. So our friend Shamu, basically like on a near weekly basis, we would like go out for wings or at least like get some kind of food, and we would have the weirdest experiences ever. But I was referring
or the best.
That does not sound right, but the funniest. But fucking this machine. We'll get him on the podcast someday. We're gonna talk about this is machine.
Yep.
God damn it, that was weird. But I was talking more so about the fucking operation itself, not so much outside of it.
The funniest?
Here, I'll give you, or just. Yeah, like I'll give you an example. When we had hilariously, our last big event that we had was the Dollarama cosplay contest. Actually, I think that was the last event that we held.
I'm glad it was the last one, so that we ended with a bang.
Yeah, hilariously, I was in charge of getting pizza for everybody because I guess everyone knows that I'm ghetto and I know how to save money via pizza. And I asked them like, "So what do you want me to do?" And they're like, "Just save money." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I did exactly that. So now when I came back, Martha was like, "Hey, so where's the veggie pizzas?" I was like, "Oh shit," and I'm like, and then she's like, "You didn't get any veggie pizzas?" I'm like, I guess I didn't. No, nobody told me to. And then she's like, "What do you mean nobody told you to?" And I'm like, "Well, did you tell me to?" And she's like, "All right, fair enough."
Yeah.
That's just like a funny, awkward moment. I'm like, "All right, let me go back out there. I'll be back."
Yeah.
Thankfully, it was beautiful weather.
Yeah, it was a nice day.
Yeah.
Man, it's tough to say for me for the funniest, just because almost every session to me, like, was a lot of fun. I would say like my funniest one was probably just the most difficult one as well, when we decided to do LEDs.
That was not fun, dude.
That's the thing, right? Like, people were lost. People were freaking lost because we were talking about the math behind it, right? We were talking about, like, Ohm's law, how you calculate resistances, like, how you calculate, like, the current and whatever the fuck, right? And just looking out at the crowd of people and seeing their jaws just hanging there.
Now, realistically, a majority of that particular workshop was, in my opinion at least, is material that you could learn in like I think a 10th grade like woodworks class or construction class, whatever you would call it, depending on
10th grade
school.
Just electronics class, right?
Yeah,
like a high school
guess.
Electronics thing.
Yeah, so it's not hard to follow necessarily. If anything, it's more like a refresher because like it took me pretty quickly. I was able to keep up with it, but it was so like I looked around. And everyone just looked like they were listening to like a foreign language for the first time.
Pretty much. Like, people were just like, "Huh, what?" Like, just absolutely, like, lost.
Who is
right?
Arduino?
And not only that, but, like, you literally at one point was just like, "All right, hold up. And then you explained it back in, like, the most ghetto terms possible.
Hey, I wouldn't say ghetto, bro. Why does... You see what I mean, guys? Everything I do is apparently ghetto.
But that's the thing. Like, it made sense to everyone at that point.
Oh, so you're calling Are You Cosplay group members ghetto?
No, I'm not calling them ghetto, but I'm saying that your instructions in ghetto makes a lot of sense.
What the fuck? Ghetto is not a language, you fool.
Oh man, one way or the other. Just sort of having that moment of them being like, "Oh," like when you explained it compared to our current instructor. Wow. It was just like, oh my gosh. All right, this is a tough topic. And then I did preface everyone with it, right? I did preface them being like, "Okay, guys, all right, just know this is going to be like just by nature, all right, a very tech heavy and very like, instruction heavy like workshop, right?
Yeah, the fact that you told them like the week prior to bring a notebook with them to take notes.
Yeah.
I was like, come on now.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. One of our members at the time actually was already bringing her notebook and taking notes.
No, everyone did because you told them to.
No.
Oh, you mean
I don't
prior to
mean
that?
just prior to that.
Who? Describe them, I guess.
Denise.
That's fucking. That was funny. I know who you're talking about, and I realized you chose a name that's like semi-similar to the person's name. I just thought you chose, but for a second there, I thought you chose that name just because of ethnicity.
What? No.
you take that in now.
No. Jesus Christ, no. Anyways.
Shane, you racist. Just kidding.
You fucking racist. What the fuck?
Just kidding.
But anyways, that was sort of like, oh my gosh, we're losing people, but also I am so happy that a lot of them are still trying to make sense of it.
Mainly because I was
after
making
that-
sense out of it. I was like, all right, listen here.
Pretty much.
So like,
You even spoke like that at one point.
Did what you do, alright? So like, listen here. Skip. Nah, but yeah.
So yeah, outside of that, overall, like, this is a great year. There were a few moments that were a bit rough, that I don't even know if we're really allowed to talk about.
I mean, on my podcast, you're allowed to talk about it. It's just a matter of like your conscience, I guess.
I don't know. To me, it's like certain events could have been run a little better. Certain things could have been communicated a bit easier across, like, all platforms.
In-house, or do you mean like with others?
I would say,
Because in-house, I feel like we could talk about.
in-house a little bit, but I was mostly referring to sort of like
I know exactly what you're
exterior,
talking
like
about.
third parties. Yeah, I was really more referring to like more third party.
If I may,
How should I say,
if I
work.
may, are you referring to Sesame Street's Cookie Monster?
Yeah, I am.
Sweet.
But yeah, we'll talk about like the in-house stuff for now. So you want to start?
I don't really know where to start.
For me, with the in-house stuff, it was that, okay, we put down a proper schedule, for like the entire semester. We knew like the workshops coming, but a lot of it we still didn't really know the exact details to, right? And I get it. We're basically creating a syllabus right now, and that's never that easy. But it was just sort of like we almost didn't even have like a basic idea behind certain like workshops, right?
Certainly not true for the fucking LED workshop.
Well, yeah.
All right, ladies and
That
gentlemen,
one
I
we
am
had
Professor
a
insert
lot
last
of
name
detail.
here, and today we are going to fucking learn LEDs and shit. So
Pretty
bust out
much.
your blood clot notebooks and start taking shit down.
Exactly. Like, welcome to Electronics 101. There were certain workshops. I'm trying to think of one right now, actually.
Here, I'll give you one. The foam armor template workshop. That was beyond
Oh,
last
yeah.
second. They were just like, "Hey, Kirby, could you do it?" I'm like, "I mean, I guess I could." And then when I got there,
Yeah.
I'm like, "How the fuck do I explain this to people, though?"
Good thing we still kept your mannequin at that point. But to me, it was like, it's workshops like that. It was workshops as well, where, in all honesty, we were kind of stalling out for like some of the like earlier parts of it.
I think opening day was pretty funny, actually.
Opening day was fucked. Opening day was like really, really difficult. I'll be honest.
Because it was like all right, so Martha was supposed to handle like a majority of it, but because of like traffic delays at our workplace, she was unable to make it on time. So we actually did have to stall, right? And then we just basically went out there and talked about our like first. It was how to pick and plan your cosplay and stuff, right? And I was told that like Martha had like this dope PowerPoint presentation and shit, so we would let her take the wheel or whatever, right? I'm like, oh shit, okay, cool. I'm very excited to see how this goes, right? And then she wasn't there, and then Shane was like, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just stall. Now the thing about this is, at this time, basically, it's always been Shane and Martha running the show, and then the two people that was brought in through this Are You Cosplay experiment was myself and Chelsea. So so we didn't know our place yet, right? We were like, okay, we don't know if we could talk about this shit or not. And then Shane was like, yo, so like, do you two have anything to add? And we're like, well, fuck, all right. Like, I guess we're gonna fucking wing it too.
Oh jeez. Yep, that happened. Oh man, and it was tough. Like, I could tell that I was losing the crowd at a certain point. And when Martha finally showed up, all right, and even she was confused, being like, why are you up there? And I'm just like, oh
because
god,
you ain't, girl.
To me, it was just like, I'm up here because you're not. So like, let's just not tell everyone. And there was literally a moment where I knew, like, things are starting to get lost when I looked over to you. And you turned the camera back to yourself, and you said, man, I don't even know what the fuck going on.
Yeah. I was like, I basically turned it into a vlog. I'm like, yo, what's up, guys? Your boy, Kirby Kwan Jr. I'm chilling at the lab right now. Why are you staring at me, bro?
Exactly. And to me, it was just like, all right, let's just try to pull everything back, and we'll just run with it. And thankfully, like, with the PowerPoint and with the work that we did, like, it worked out. Not only that, but it was actually pretty nice because with it being our first workshop, we actually got like a really nice introduction with a lot of the members, because we finished early and we decided, like, hey, everyone's still here. All right, let's just like, sit and like, chill and talk, hang around essentially, and just kind of like talk about some of our cosplay stuff.
Yeah, just all like, do you understand life?
Pretty
do
much.
You?
And then we had our like impromptu like dance sessions that you decided to bring along.
Hey, that was not intended to happen.
But it worked out fantastically because everyone was into it.
So I'm not a dancer anymore. I used to, I guess I technically do come from a dance background from when I was like a kid. I started dancing ever since I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I stopped in middle school, so that would be at around what, like 13-ish. But then in 2020, Korean artist Zico dropped a song called Any Song, and like he issued like this like kind of TikTok dance challenge thing, and I'm like, this is easy and it's fun. So I was like, let me teach it to whomever is interested. And then so that's the origin of that. It's a quick thing that you could pick up in like, honestly, about 2 minutes.
Yeah. And everyone was super into it. So you basically had like an impromptu dance session one time when we finished early, and people were just kind of like, yeah, let's hang out for like a little bit.
That was the gem casting one, right? If memory serves.
I think so.
Yeah, because it was all about, okay, pour the resin into the mold, do not spill.
Again, yeah. I totally just like preface that one being like, guys, this is honestly like the easiest and simplest craft. The only thing that you have to worry is bubbles.
You might want to bring some food with you, maybe some playing cards, but you cannot gamble on school grounds. You could play fish or I don't know, freaking Big Two or some shit, but you cannot gamble and you should be fine.
Yeah.
But now we're just gonna have a freaking flash mob, bro.
But now we're gonna have a flash mob, and it's perfectly fine
dancing,
because
bro? Yes, we are dancing, bro.
Not only that, but it worked out that area actually had some nice mirrors for everyone to kind of see themselves in.
Well,
so.
they're not actual mirrors; they're just giant window panels. Window panels, because windows are not panels. They're just giant like windows. And against black, it always like shows your reflection.
Yeah, full body like windows. So overall, I still think like, yeah, this was a successful sort of experiment. And God, it's just such a damn shame, like with the situation right now.
You know, we say that, but I think didn't at a point all three on camera, at least me, you, and Chelsea kind of agreed in some ways, this is a bit of a blessing in disguise because because we're through this operation, we're teaching people how to cosplay, but we never actually get to work on our own stuff.
Yeah, not only that, but coming down to the end of our short work, I would say like basically once we hit your workshop, I can tell, all right, that we were all sort of burnt out at that point. Because the thing is, all right, like our main responsibilities when it comes to the stuff, all right, like when it comes to like a weekly basis, is I would put out like an update onto the Facebook page, basically, a reminder of like, hey guys, this workshop's coming up, blah blah blah, make sure to show up. As well as like putting out like notices. You would basically do a lot of like the video editing work and like actually like publishing the videos. Chelsea handled all like our other social media stuff, but it was like once we were getting down to roughly that armor patterning workshop, right? Like I was like, man, I'm so fucking tired.
Well, it also didn't help that on my end, in my, I guess, non-RU cosplay operations life, I was also so my boss at my workplace was on his vacation, so I was temporarily promoted to like interim manager, so I had to like look over that shit as well.
Yeah.
And then it just so happened too that because I work at a sports apparel shop, it just so happened that I guess people were still kind of like hunting for Kobe Bryant merchandise because he just passed, rest in paradise. And I was getting very frustrated with a certain particular a certain particular kind of customer, like these weird scalpers that like are trying to like, no, legit, they're trying to like profit off of a death of an icon basically, and that really like irked me the wrong way, right? Because basically everyone came in, oh, do you have any Kobe jerseys? Do you have any Kobe Bryant jerseys? Do you have any Kobe Bryant jerseys and whatnot, right? So I would explain to them, I'm like, no, we do not. And they're like, oh, do you know like if any other one of your branches would have them? And I'm like, no, because like everyone's been asking me that the whole day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had like people that would be like, oh, do you have any Kobe Bryant merchandise? I'm like, no. And then they're like, oh, shit, it sucks because I was looking for his jerseys for like even before he passed, like for months now. And I'm like, fucking disrespectful bullshit, because I had a rack that was like literally right next to the registers, and it was flooded with Kobe Bryant jerseys, and nobody wanted to buy them. They were the Mitchell & S. It was an authentic collection Mitchell & S jersey, number 24 in yellow. I remember it like that, and nobody bought them. And then when he passed, right, obviously they sold out immediately. And then now, like freaking a month or two later, there's still people like, oh yeah, I was looking for it for like forever and I could never find one. I'm like, shut the fuck up, you disrespectful motherfucker. So I was getting like really like sort of like anal about that going on as well, just in like the sports world in general. And right. I know these people exist, and I know these people probably have like profited from like buying Kobe Bryant merchandise and then like flipping it online, which is fucking disgusting, honestly. But but yeah, so I was getting like anal about that. And then when it came to like the RU Cosplay Operation, like, which by the way, that sounds dope as hell, but it sounds sick as hell. Like, like I had like a lot of responsibilities on media side in regards to YouTube and a little bit of the Instagram. And yeah, it was just very difficult for us to like stay on track. I remember there's this one recap video, because basically for the recaps, I should never be in front of camera because like to keep the workflow quick. But we tried it with Shane, and he had like a solid like 3 or 4 takes, and he could not get past the opening line of our shot list. So I'm just like, all right, fuck it. I'll teach you what to do. Let me do this. So that's and I just came from work. So if for that one recap video, I think I was wearing like all black with like a dad cap on. I was never supposed to be in front of camera.
It was a really rough day, all right?
Yeah, we was mad tired.
Yeah. Like I said, around that time, like, you were already getting burned out with some of this work stuff. I honestly was already, like, just getting exhausted, because I was in the midst of this, as well as, like, going through the motions of, like, applying for a fuck ton of jobs. Yeah, etc., etc.
Yeah. With that said, though, because Chelsea did very, like, briefly joke about it, like, oh, now that we are in, like, house lockdown. I don't like saying quarantine because it sounds, I don't know, I just don't like the way it sounds.
Yeah.
So now that we're in house lockdown or sci-fi, we do have more time to work on our own private cosplay projects. At least that's what I thought, right? Because I started going in on, like, the muscle sculpt, the anatomy sculpt, and then I realized I can't do anything anymore because I ran out of foam.
Yep. And even that is the biggest issue.
And even today, I'm working on, like, a prop gun toy, and basically it's mostly just a repaint. And then because earlier, before we started this podcast, I told Shane, like, dude, I'm, like, down to one last coat, and that coat was done. Mm-hmm. That can has nothing in it besides a little rattle ball. So I need to go to a Walmart, line up for, like, half an hour, and then buy, like, as much paint as possible.
Yeah. Man. The thing is, right, at least now, we found at least some resources that will sell us, like, materials like EVA foam, right, as well as, like, have some delivery. We just have to figure out some logistics behind it.
Yeah. What I was about to ask is, what would you have been working on if
I have the time?
If you have the time, you don't have the materials.
Yeah. So I would have just been finally finishing up cosplay that I've been meaning to do forever, which is Red Hood. I already have, like, the blueprints for the helmet and everything, right? And then the chest armor, I was just gonna source from you.
What?
What?
What? How?
I was just gonna borrow one of your patterns, to be honest.
Oh, I thought you were, like, straight up like, yeah, Kirby's gonna make it. I'm like, yeah, okay. No.
I commission you.
If you pay me, I do it. Because I can't work right now.
Yeah, fair.
Essentially jokes.
Yeah. But I would have been finishing up Red Hood, because we basically have everything, right? Like, we've been doing the setup for the longest while. We just never, funnily enough, pulled the trigger on any of it.
Which is funny because I again, working on gun prop, it's drying right now, and I was the one who actually put Shane on his guns for Red Hood. Gun props for Red Hood. I just realized it's terrible because Red Hood, I'm from the hood, guns, this sounds props. Terrible.
Your gun is now drying? What? Anyways.
Wipe off the blood from the upper
that
receiver.
One went nowhere.
What?
I could ask you the same question, but I'm not going to.
So Red Hood.
Anyways. Yeah. I would be finishing Red Hood. I would also be doing Constantine, which is what we have set up in hopes that Fan Expo still runs.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what's gonna happen to that, because I just, man, it's tough to say, like, the timeline on any of this. And outside of that, I would also be doing,
you mean you would have done by now, probably?
Yeah, I would have done by now, Blood Moon Twisted Fate from League of Legends, because that was meant to be part of this whole group cosplay, which is definitely not happening.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, for me, it's always been very straightforward. I just wanted to get that muscle sculpt done, and then I would use it for Batman. But then I realized, if I re-engineer certain things to have breaks and fasten it a little bit differently, I could actually develop a modular armor. So that was sort of like modular modern armor. Actually, no, I think it would almost work for, like, any time era to some degree. But that was something that I always thought about since, like, 2017, but I never carried out on that, because at that time I was done with cosplay, I said to myself. So there's that. And then recently, as recent as like I think over the weekend, so Chelsea, if you guys aren't subscribed to the Are You Cosplay channel. Chelsea's been working on a custom sort of OC of like Nintendo's Bowser armor, as if she like slayed him, which is kind of dope. So that's like a really cool twist on, you know, doing a Bowser cosplay. So then I thought to myself, like, yo, why don't we do other, as in like with Shane, I was like, yo, why don't we like do other Nintendo characters or Super Smash Brothers characters with a twist on it? So I thought like, yo, why don't maybe I could do like a Link? Because, you know, everyone, if you go to any convention, there is at least 100 motherfuckers dressed up as Link. At least, right? So I thought to myself, from Legend of Zelda. Yeah. So I thought to myself, I'm like, you know, like I'm sick and tired of seeing adorable bastards in green tunics. That's just me putting it. That's me putting it lightly.
Why are they so pretty?
And why are they bastards? I'm joking. So, so what I was saying was like, why don't I take this and make it realistic, but set it in an era where it wouldn't look out of place? So I was thinking to put it in an era like maybe like 16th century, 17th century, something like that, and like Rome or like Spain, like something like that. And you know, I'll armor him up to look like a noble warrior or something. That's something that I literally thought of in passing while I was taking a shit. So fun fact, all of my good ideas start off as bad ideas from me either taking a shit, shower, or peeing, basically in the washroom. So even the Are You Cosplay like rebrand, I'm like, you know, we should probably do something where it looks like a blueprint but not really, and it'll kind of be reminiscent of like old school like VCD menus. Yeah, I took their VCD menus. Most motherfuckers barely know what DVDs are, let alone VCDs. Surprisingly, people know what cassettes are before they think of a VCD.
Okay,
we're old.
Oh gosh. But yeah, anyways, continue.
So I pitched this to Shane, right? I'm like, yo, since like I might be doing that if supplies are able to be supplied. That was a really weird way of wording it. You know, I was like, what should you do? And then I made the joke. I'm like, yo, why don't you like dress up as Meta Knight, but as an actual knight? So then we went on Google and we searched up, I wonder how most people would interpret Meta Knight in a cosplay form. And holy shit.
It's not great.
That's not what you said.
I appreciate the effort that people put in, but a lot of it is
no, fuck you. This is what Shane said. He was like, all right, let me just take a quick look.
Well, at least it wasn't like your reaction, which is like, you're just like, I wonder what that would look like. Oh god.
Yeah, I was like, oh god.
I don't know, man. I think, like, I get it, all right? Like, you know, it's just, like, this round, dumb-looking cartoon character. How do you bring that up into, like, a realistic setting? But that's the challenge.
I don't think it's much of a challenge, though, because...
Just do an Arthurian knight.
Yeah, because it's literally Meta Knight. Okay, so I'll dress up as a knight. Put the face shield on to model it after Meta Knight's
or
face
just
shield.
Make a helmet with the face shield.
Yeah. And you're done. I see a lot of people doing weird stuff where they put on like a jumpsuit. I'm like, yes, because knights are totally known for wearing jumpsuits.
There was also someone who decided to just cosplay the cartoon character, and they created a what is essentially just a cylinder that they just sat in.
No, the one that actually like went through the effort to dress up as like a ball, that one's, I don't know why, that's tight.
But for the one that I'm referring to was actually an image of like a flat cylinder.
That's not cosplay, bro.
No,
that's
it's
creative
not,
landscape. Do you know what that is?
I was just kind of confused.
To me, that's like one of those like park attractions where you put your face into something and you become that character. You know what I'm saying? With the cutouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, getting back on topic.
But yeah, so I pitched that to Shane. I'm like, yo, why don't you do Meta Knight? And then we saw that and we was like, all right, fine. Clearly you can't take it seriously. Clearly I can't take it seriously. Let's think of other characters. So I'm like, Shane, my dude, just Captain Falcon in the style or vein of Captain America. Just do it, dude.
There's a giant fist on the shield.
Exactly. I didn't even like plan that far. and then on the shield, you spray paint the words "Show me your moves."
Yeah. So we got ideas, at least.
Yeah. How do you think we can improve operations for next fall term? Because, you know, we had a really strange small sample size this term, so to speak. How do you think we can do so for next term? Because I don't.
In all honesty, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying I don't even think we had like a proper 10-week run, right?
No, we had let me think, because we started in mid-January.
Yeah, we started in week 2 of term 2, and then we got cut short by 2 workshops, I think.
Yeah, we got cut by 2 workshops, so essentially I would say like 8 weeks in total.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily feel like that just because how busy we were with some of the workshops, but to improve on this, I would, in all honesty, keep doing what we're doing.
No.
Well, listen, all right? Exactly, with all the sort of, like, efforts that we put in of, like, you know, maintaining these workshops, having new people showing up for, let's say, like, leading the tutorials or whatever, right? That was great, and that actually pulled in a lot of people. Not only that, but it provided, like, you know, a number of cosplayers, all right? Like, the opportunity to, you know, sort of... I don't want to say exposure, because I know that word is, like, tainted. But essentially, all right, it was great because we just sort of had, like, a much more inclusive community at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, all right, our biggest issue is just sort of marketing and getting it out there. There was a number of times as well that communication just needs to be a little more fluid, a little more like we just need more awareness on our parts in terms of, hey, like, you know, this is exactly what I'm going to be covering in this tutorial and la la la, right? And the thing is, like, I still think that, like, the best thing out of, like, all these workshops, all right, was the fact that everyone stuck around at the end, right? To hang out with either you or Chelsea or just both of you guys, all right, and just sort of, like, chat and enjoy yourselves.
You made it sound so sad for yourself, like no one's here for me type of shit.
I mean, no, the thing is, like, you know, they hung out with me, too. I'm not trying to say, like, nobody loves me or anything.
It's true, though.
Ha! Wow, motherfucker.
I baited you. Just kidding.
You're sick, you know that?
At least I'm loved.
Are you, though?
No.
Or are your dance moves loved?
I am not loved. I am hated by God.
Alright, now it got really sad. Anyways.
But I am a god.
It was the fact that everyone sort of, like, you know, stayed and stuck around and just, like, really enjoyed their time of just, like, hanging out. And... in all honesty, like, if we could keep up something like that, right, then all the better. Once we had our, I would say, first big event of that semester, which was, it wasn't Dollarama Cosplay. It was when we collaborated with all the other student
LED
groups.
workshop. It had to be the LED workshop.
No, I'm more referring to when we actually collaborated with this, with, what? I was referring more to when we were collaborating with all those other student groups, right? I, like, just remember, like, you know, the good times that we had, like, you know, once it was all over with the crowd that, like, you know, was just sort of, like, chilling with us at that point, right? Granted, a number of them weren't necessarily cosplay members, but still worked out.
I think the funniest thing about that particular event was me being, like, somewhat of the outsider. I was like, yo, so what is this event called, right? And then there was, like, yeah, we don't know yet. I'm like, well, fuck. I was like, yo, how about we try calling it... Can I say the event name? I think I can.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, it's already passed.
I was like, yo, like, why don't we call it RU Expo? And they were like, yo, that's fucking genius. I'm like, seriously, dude?
And everyone was just like, yo, the guy who doesn't even go here came up with a better name than us.
And then, and then they're like, okay, let's think of, like, a logo for this, right? And then, like, one person, and I'm not clowning on her, because she was trying her best, like with like a really shitty program from what I understand. She was like, all right, let's rig this up, and I'm like, this looks disgusting. In the nicest way possible. I was like, this looks
in disgusting. The most like professional sort of like, you know, criticism way.
So basically, so if you're wondering what I said, I didn't actually say anything. So what I did was I went on this program that everyone probably has called Microsoft PowerPoint, and I generated a mock-up for a logo in about like 20 seconds afterwards. I'm like, how about this instead? And they was like, yo, how did you do that? I'm like, Microsoft PowerPoint, Bregin.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then after that, they were like, yo, Kirby, could you be the host? I'm like, what? And then like,
we love your voice. We just think you sound amazing, man.
And I'm like, I mean, I guess. Do you have like a program? They're like, no. I'm like, what? Yeah, they're like, we just need you mostly, and it made sense when the event organizer broke it down to me like this. She's like, we need you to capture everybody's attention, and then direct them to listen to me. I'm like, oh, okay, I could do that.
Real quick, did you just say diva?
No. Did I say what did I say?
You said diva and something to listen to you.
Direct, excuse me.
I heard diva, and I was just like, wait a minute.
Okay, somebody's been playing a lot of Overwatch, but
no. To me, it was just like, I mean, for like, you know what? Forget it.
No. Explain yourself.
I was gonna say, like, you know, for a nickname or whatever, right? Or like a username. It kind of works for some like things.
Are you calling Tatiana a diva? I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't know anyone.
All right, now I'm not even sure who the fuck we're talking about.
No. Okay, I'll be honest. I low-key am not sure who you're talking about. Are you talking about the event organizer or the Cookie Monster?
Cookie Monster.
Well, no. Why the fuck would I call her something else if Cookie Monster is already on the table?
Fair.
Because that's why I was like, who is this diva
I was
that
just
you are
confused
referring
for
to?
like a little bit.
No, the event organizer.
Got it.
Tiny. Yeah, she was like
Tiny Tim.
No, but yeah, so she. What the fuck? Man?
Let's just stop.
So she was like, yeah, I just need you to grab everybody's attention, keep them entertained, and then like give out like these like notes. I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, and at a certain point, you straight up just beatboxed.
Yeah, because like we couldn't like, get everybody's attention because these are like what, like second years and third years mostly. I'm guessing maybe a few first years.
Third
as well.
to fourth.
Oh shit. Okay, but yeah. So I'm like, okay, how do I get everybody's attention without having to be like, hey, right, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'll just start beatboxing and I will completely like. Here's the thing too. I fucked up by wearing all black that day because like basically I look like a shadow with a face on it. Whatever that means. But yeah, so I had to immediately like, all right, give me the mic, and then I started beatboxing, and then I'm like, okay, now that I have y'all's attention, and I actually said that too. I was like, now that I have your attention, listen to our event organizer. I almost said her name, but yeah, that was a weird thing. But for me, back to the actual question at hand, which was what do we think we can improve or whatever. So I'm going to use a basketball reference. When LeBron first went to Miami, they weren't successful because they didn't know their places right. I feel like that is true with this minimal sample size experiment. Now that we all kind of understand where we stand and shit, it will probably be ran easier. I still think like the biggest issue with communication so far has been workshop based, which is like, okay, so we have the schedule down. Now we need to know what criteria needs to be filled per workshop, who's going to be running it, and who will be the backup in the event that they can make it for whatever reason. I feel like once we get that down, the workshops themselves will be a lot slicker and easier to plan for or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, since nobody is doing anything besides Chelsea because she's still working, now would be a good time to actually plan that.
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine if this podcast was all an excuse for me to tell Shane, yo, get to work.
God.
It isn't, because I do that already.
Well, here's the thing, right? You have some validity with this, because it is honestly very hard to make yourself work on anything right now, it feels.
No, that is true. Like, once because the thing was, see, my plan was always, like, as soon as, like, I get the call from like, upper management at my workplace to be like, yo, so, like, don't come back, get fucked. Then, like, then I would know.
That's what your boss says.
No, that's what I sound like. I'm
Okay.
See, to protect the identity of, like, my workplace and my people there, I just pretend that they all sound like me, which is hilariously sad. Anyways, but yeah, like my plan was, if I get that call from upper management telling me to get fucked, right, then I would just go ham and work on everything as quickly as and as efficiently as I possibly can. And I did. I fucking murdered that bat suit / like anatomy sculpt. So a full upper body set, to me at least, is upper arms, shoulders, front, back of torso, and then the sides, right? I basically knocked that all out in the course of 2 workdays.
Right.
Sorry, 3 workdays, I think. 2 or 3 workdays. So, I was on such a roll, and I was like, all right, cool. Now I just need some 1mm foam to accommodate for the sides and the lats, and then, I'll be good. And then I realized I don't have any 1mm foam in the right, like, form, so to speak. And I was like, well, shit, I'll just go to Michael's. And like, oh yeah, right, they're not fucking open. And then then I was on a slump for like a solid like 2 weeks. I'm like, oh yeah, I have this like assault rifle toy gun thing, let me go ahead and give that a repaint, right? And I did. And then today I just ran out of clear matte sealer, and I'm like, well, shit, after this project I'm really fucked.
Yeah. Oh man, it is honestly a very tough time to be a maker or a cosplayer, just because there's almost no access to resources, man. Like, I only just know about one person who can deliver foam.
And I think the funniest thing too was Shane was like, hey Kirby, so we're gonna need to have like a video workshop for painting. Like, you're pretty decent at that. Would you like to do it? I'm like, I mean, I would if I had something to actually, like repaint up, right? So then I actually had to dig through like a little, like, I don't even know what you would call it. I dig through my stuff, and then I found
Your
like,
stockpile.
I guess I don't even actually. This is not from there, so I don't know where I found it. But I have like this one like sort of like a Vambrace gauntlet piece from like a dollar store. And I'm like, will this suffice? He was like, yeah, it should be fine. So, yeah, now I just need to get some. Well, I guess I'll have to like paint it satin, because I don't have any other sealers that don't look stupid. Also, from this house lockdown, Shane is slowly learning how to film YouTube videos, I guess.
Yeah. Which is sad, because I used to do like a lot of YouTube, like just video-based projects, like video essays.
Video essays is different, though. See, the thing about sort of losing your voice is it sucks. But the thing about creating YouTube content, so to speak, and the reason why like I was very adamant about like me running the YouTube channel is you need to have a certain degree of versatility, right? So when we had a week where we didn't have like a regular workshop, we needed a video to slide into the slot. I was like, let me do a vlog style type of like talking head video talking about something cosplay or convention related. And immediately I was like, I'm pretty sure no one else is going to be able to do this, so let me just knock one out first. I did ask Shane, and then Shane sent me this really this funny clip where basically it's just him, and then he's recording with his phone, excuse me, his cellular mobile device, and I gave up on that word. And he's just like looking at his like computer screen, and it's not like addressing the audience, and he's just kind of like randomly talking about, yes, this is my first time cosplaying, yada 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 yada. And I'm like, and then at a point you actually hear like the whole phone like vibrate and shit from like messages, and I'm like, And I'm like, okay, yeah.
Oh, the Shay.
So I was like, yeah, Shane, I'm a coach you through how to do this. So I gave him like a point and shoot camera to work with for the time being, which I kind of regret not giving you the DSLR instead, because that point and shoot camera is so useful for certain things, but
not this.
No, it's
even I'm kind of like, damn, man, I wish I had that DSLR.
well, no, well, I was about to be like, technically, if you know what you're doing, you could work with any camera, and I do still believe that is true. But it's just for certain things, like the point and shoot would have been so much easier to use for me. But it is what it is. But
DSLR would have been a lot easier for me. Anyways, yeah.
But yeah, that is how the RU cosplay experiment happened. We're not 100% sure as to what's going to happen for next year yet, as to whether or not we will be keeping the RU cosplay name?
Yeah, probably.
And the members as well, right? The core.
The core members, yes. There's no reason to get rid of good talent, so.
So why used to? I'm just kidding. I baited you.
Why are you like this?
Because self-isolation. Anyways,
totally understandable though.
Exactly. So don't question my bullshit.
But anyways, yeah.
Anyways, that will be it for today's episode of the Ghetto Fabulous podcast. Don't forget, you could also follow us on multiple platforms, including obviously right here native on YouTube, but you could also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Google Cast, and a whole bunch of other platforms listed. Also, you could find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, as well as SoundCloud by typing in Kirby Kwan Jr. That's KIRBY KWANJR. And of course, please do subscribe to the RU Cosplay channel. I will link it in the video description below. Also follow us on Instagram at RUCosplay_ and search for our Facebook group by typing RU Cosplay as well. So that'll be it for today's episode. We hope to see you soon. And until next time, guys, take care.
See you.